One of, if not the most important critiques of fiscal policy is the idea of timing problems. Milton Friedman has a famous analogy about the government's attempts to stabilize the economy, and it's called the fool in the shower. The basic idea is this. The shower starts out too cold because the pipes have not yet warmed up. So the fool turns up the hot water. Nothing happens. So he turns up the hot water further. The hot water eventually comes out and scalds him. He immediately turns up the cold water, and nothing happens right away. So he turns up the cold water even further. When the cold water finally starts to come out, he finds that the shower is too cold, and so he turns up the hot water. But the hot water doesn't change anything, so he turns the hot water up further, and it scalds him, right? And this scenario continues and continues because we are not getting the immediate feedback of the temperature of the water. This is the metaphor for the timing problems with fiscal policy. There's three time lag problems. Discretionary fiscal policy suffers from these problems, and they are very important for us to analyze if we're going to do fiscal policy correctly or if we're going to do fiscal policy at all. So the three problems that we have are recognition, implementation, and response. To students of economics, the recognition problem might seem kind of foreign. Recognizing that an economy is in trouble or below full employment and the macroeconomy is below the trend line of the business cycle, that seems easy to recognize. But it's easy to recognize when we have a graph of it in a picture that says, hey, our output is below our potential output. But the economy doesn't just work this way. There is no like computer in Washington, D.C. that the economists can go and check and look at the aggregate supply and aggregate demand curves and see that, yep, we're in a recession now, or we're below full employment, and so we need to do expansionary fiscal policy. Recognizing the conditions of the economy is not as easy as one would think, especially if we want to do it quickly. Our ability to forecast future conditions is also very limited. There's not a sufficient way to recognize if the economy is heading towards a downturn or a boom far enough in advance to do countercyclical policy quite easily. Recognizing, do we just have a little bit of inflation? Do we have actually below potential output? What is our potential output right now? All of these things are not as easy as a textbook suggestion of fiscal policy's use really is. Implementation is this idea that it takes time to institute a legislative change and get the policy into effect. Implementing has to go through the normal political process, and sending things through the normal political process is not just a quick, easy thing. If we look at what should we spend money on when it comes to fiscal policy, you can very quickly start to see the potential problems that may be involved. We can say, oh, well, we'll just do public work projects. Well, where should they be located? Don't you think politicians will kind of debate over the fact that it should be done in my area of the country, right? Or things like this. Or let's not do public work projects at all. I have, these political interests where we're trying to increase the spending in the national defense areas or things like that. The different sectors of the economy will all be kind of fighting over where this increased spending should go. And that takes time to work out the political realities of that situation. And so it takes time to institute a legislative change and get this policy actually into effect. And then the third timing problem is the response time. There is a time lag between when a change is instituted and when it exerts its actual significant impact. The economy must adjust to the new conditions, and this will not happen instantaneously. Even if we recognize the problem right away and we implement it really, really quickly, there still is this lag before our fiscal policy is in place and it actually filters and multiplier effect its way through the economy. So there is a response time that the policy actually has to kind of make its way through the economy. So the three time lag problems, put another way, is this idea that one, we can't completely forecast what will happen through time and what is really going on right now. Two, it takes time to put the measures into place. There's an implementation problem. And three, the act takes time before it actually has its effect. There is a response time problem.